Bees side.
Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. Once again, it is me, my man, myself. My name is Brandon. I go by B Harv with my partner in crime, my man B Schutz, aka Brian. And we are here once again with the Bees Side podcast, where we discuss music and everything within that. And just we just try and have a good time, man. Just our feelings on music, what it took. I don't know. I mean, just anything that music kind of has been within our lives and how we are involved with it. But we are here once again, and this is the third episode. And as you could tell by just my ranting that I'm still trying to get it together, but it's okay because the more I do this, the more comfortable I'll be and the more comfortable you will be listening to it. My guest today, let's see, how do I start this, man? I don't even know where to begin, but all I do know is I do like seeing this guy perform. We've had several different little mini conversations in between breaks of trivia. Shout out to Scott Hall out there. And even Heather's Cafe for holding Name That Tune trivia. But he is a bass player. I found out later through social media that he also plays guitar. And if I'm not mistaken, mandolin, but we'll discuss that in a little bit. But today, my guest, and I'd like to introduce to y'all, Mr. Nick Wheeler. Nick, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh man, I appreciate you being here, man.
I like the title multi-instrumentalist.
Okay, that'll work. Because that's just exactly what it is.
Well, and I say that because, and if you ask my wife, she'll tell you, I try to own at least one of every musical instrument that there is out there.
Nice.
And the coolest thing that I just bought recently was it's a Japanese instrument called an automaton.
Okay.
And
okay.
it's the weirdest damn thing. You play it. It's got like a little plastic thing, and you kind of drag your finger up and down. It's at just a chromatic scale, but it kind of goes wah, and it's wild. If you get time, go look up automaton videos.
Okay,
they're hilarious, and people are like making actual songs out of it, covering songs. One of my favorite bands is System of a Down.
Yes.
Somebody did a System of a Down song on the automaton, and it's hilarious.
Nice.
So
nice. How big is that instrument?
Well, they make them all different sizes.
Okay.
The one that I have is it's just a little small one. It's more of a toy, the one that I have, but they make very professional ones that are very sensitive.
Okay.
Very touch sensitive. It's kind of like on a keyboard where you kind of have that.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. It's real touch sensitive. So
okay.
So yeah.
Wow.
Trying to own one of everything.
Okay.
Guitars,
one of everything.
I used to have drums, so she made me get rid of the drums.
Really?
Not really, but when you get married, you make concessions, and the drums I wasn't really playing them anyway. So.
Okay.
But
okay.
If I can play it, it's got strings on it, I'll buy it. My mandolin is crazy because I got these big old, monster sausage finger hands.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll go from playing my 5-string bass, which the neck on is, huge, and to this mandolin that's got this little tiny neck on it, and it feels like a whole nother world. So
okay. Wow. Well, we're off to a great start, man. You know what? Let's just kind of go back a little bit. And where were you born? Where were you raised? And,
right here in Dayton, Ohio. I
okay.
wore my Dayton Until I Die shirt today.
Nice.
What
area?
Got Ohio tattooed on my arm. So I grew up, so I was born over on East 3rd Street.
Okay.
In a little house that was close to, trying to think of the name of the road now, but in about the middle of East 3rd Street. And,
okay.
And after I was born, we moved to North Dayton to a place called Northland Village.
Okay.
Which is apartments.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what it's called now. It's changed names since, but and I lived there till I was 13.
That's off of Dixie, right?
Yep, over off Dixie. It's Northridge, basically.
Yeah.
And I lived there, and then after that, we moved back to East 3rd Street until I graduated high school and became an adult. And since then, I've just lived in the Dayton area.
Okay.
Fairborn and Xenia and Huber Heights. I had a house in Huber Heights for a while, but all around the Dayton area.
All right. And where or not where, well, no, actually, I'm sorry. Where exactly did you graduate from?
I went to Patterson Co-op.
Okay.
Which is no longer a high school.
Right.
Dayton Public Schools, shout out, what's up? And it was really cool. I didn't do very well in school, but I was very smart. and my teachers would get mad at me because I would take their little standardized tests, score in the top of the class, and then get D's on all my homework because
Right.
I just wasn't feeling the homework,
Right.
So,
Right.
and amazingly enough, after I graduated, I went to college because I thought for sure there's no way I was going to go to college.
Yeah.
As much as I didn't like school, but I went to Wright State, got a degree, and the rest is history. So,
Okay.
It took me 7 years from high school to college, and then it took me 6 years to graduate. So,
so you know what happened? I graduated high school, and a friend of mine got me a job roofing.
Okay.
Commercial roofing, hot pitch roofing.
Wow.
And so after doing a summer of hot pitch roofing, I decided I wanted to go to college.
Yeah. Very interesting. That hard work was like,
I still got burn marks on my legs from that gag job. So.
I can only imagine. What is your first musical memory?
So my first musical memory is, so as many folks do, they come from broken homes, and my mother was dating a guy named John Blackburn. Awesome man. Really, my reason of loving music is from John Blackburn.
Okay.
But I explicitly remember we had one of them old consoles with the record player and the 8-track and the whole big thing.
Yep.
And he had an 8-track, and it was Kiss.
Okay.
And so before I could even really talk, I could sing Kiss lyrics.
Wow.
And I could tell you who was in Kiss, and I could tell you the Kiss albums. And so that was kind of my real first introduction into music. And so just from that, I asked my mom, I said, I really want a guitar. And this is going to tell you how old I am. She went to the Finger Hut magazine.
I remember those magazines.
and online, or not online, listen to me. And through the phone, she bought me a harmony guitar.
Okay.
Through Finger Hut. And I thought I was the coolest thing ever. Couldn't play it. It was
How old were
not
you?
in tune. I was probably 8, maybe.
Okay.
Wasn't in tune. I think it only had a couple strings. I mean, it was bad. And so I always tell the story because I love the story. I was watching Tom and Jerry,
Okay.
the cartoon. And there's the episode where he's trying to woo the girl or whatever.
Yep.
And he's playing bass.
Bass, he sure is.
The is you is, or is you ain't my baby. know? And I took that harmony guitar and I flipped it upside down. And I knew then I wanted to be a bass player.
Wow. Okay. Now let's go back with that. What Kiss album was it that John Blackburn, was it?
His name was John Blackburn.
John. What
and
Kiss
so
album,
he had
do you
a
remember?
Kiss album, and then I can remember the 8-track specifically. It was Dressed to Kill. They're all
Okay.
in their
In the
ties.
suits. Yep.
And it's great. And then you put that on 8-track, and the song stops in the middle and goes, and it goes to the next song.
Right.
But I loved it, man. I loved it. So,
Okay. Now you still a Kiss fan to this day?
Oh, always. Yeah. That's
Now what was it? What is it about Kiss that makes you a fan?
It's just rock and roll. 3 chords, big and loud. Some guys really like to go, and that's cool, man. I respect that because if you can do those kind of things, it's amazing. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of practice.
Right.
But I would prefer the big, and the big, that's the style of music that I really enjoy.
Okay.
If it makes you tap your foot, bounce a little bit. And so Kiss had that. They had that groove.
Yeah.
They had they were larger than life with the makeup and the stage show.
Right.
I mean, how could you not get behind it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will probably share this in more episodes than anything else, but my famous Kiss story. I can't recall how old I was, but I know it was Christmas time. And I asked my mother for the Kiss Alive 2 album, which says Kiss Alive 2 in big letters on the front, but at the bottom of the album, it's pictures of each member. It looked like a live shot. And of course, the very last shot is Gene Simmons with blood all over his mouth. And my mom would not get it for me. And I am 52 years old, and I still hold a grudge to this day about it because it wasn't what I saw there that made me want to get it. Really, it wasn't even the members that I saw. It was just those letters that were so big, the way the S's looked, and how just I think it was in red, like black and red on the cover. Something about it just looked amazing to me that I had to hear it. And then, of course, over the years, hearing them and the influence that they have on others, and just the staying power that when it comes to a live show, they always brought it. There was no denying when you left the Kiss show, you knew what you just saw.
Because of that, I think that really played into my entertainer part of the musicianship. I wish I was more accomplished as a musician. I wish I played better. I do. I still, even I'm almost 50. I still practice, all the time.
Right.
I wish I was more proficient. but I really want the show to be good. And
Absolutely.
when somebody comes to see me play, I really want them to enjoy it, and I need to look like I'm having fun. Because if
Right.
you're up there staring at your shoes, man, how can anybody enjoy that?
Right.
And that's the one thing that I think I got behind Kiss for, because it was the show.
Yeah.
You know, it was a big show, and maybe the music wasn't, you know, the highest rated music of all, and
Right.
they would get panned by critics. But you know what? If you went to that show, man, you saw the explosions and Gene spitting fire, and
Yeah.
that's for real.
Now, how many Kiss shows have you seen in your lifetime?
You know, I only saw a couple.
Okay.
I didn't really get a chance to see them a lot. I saw them on the Hot in the Shade tour. That was at Hair Arena. They
Okay.
had already taken the makeup off, and that was the first time I saw them. It was an amazing show. They had this big Sphinx that was on stage, and they did God of Thunder, and lasers shot out of it. And I don't know. I was a teenager,
Wow.
and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!"
Right.
And you know what that ticket cost? $12.50. $12.50. I still have the ticket stub.
Good old days, right there, man.
$12.50 to see Kiss.
That's crazy.
So I didn't see them again until they did their first reunion tour.
Okay.
And that was at the Nutter Center, and they were back in makeup, and that was amazing because I never got to see them as a kid
Yeah.
with makeup. So it was really cool.
Okay. Nice, man. Nice. Now, when it comes to music, is there a certain genre of music that you like, or are you across the board?
All of it. Yeah.
Okay.
All of it. And that even started before I really wanted to become a musician.
Okay.
I don't know, when you grow up where I grew up, really mixed community, lots of different influences, you know, you get to hear different stuff. So I didn't just hear my parents' music. I heard my friends' parents' music. I heard the kids down the street that was a little bit older than me, their music.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I had the good fortune of coming up in the 80s and 90s when I think, you know, and I'll get a lot of heat for this, I'm sure, but all of my favorite music comes
Right.
from the 80s and 90s.
Right.
And I love 70s, you know, because I love Kiss and I love Led Zeppelin and I love all that stuff. But man, there's something special about, because the hip hop was the best, the rock was the best,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the pop music was the best in the 80s and the 90s.
Okay.
So I listen to everything.
Nice. 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 Now, when it comes to your playing, I guess the question is, what kind of school do you come from? I mean, I know you said you like the crunchy riffs and everything like that. Was that automatically in you, or was it something that you kind of acquired?
No, I think I was drawn to rock music, to heavier music,
Mm-hmm.
as far as playing. And again, I don't think I ever aspired to be a virtuosic player. You know, I didn't want to shred. That
Yeah.
wasn't really my forte. I was more of the doo doo doo, you know, and I love funk music.
Okay.
I mean, if you're a bass player and you don't like funk music, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Right. Right.
I never could get the slap the way that you know, my heroes could do it, but you know, you watch Victor Wooten, you want to turn just don't want to take my bass and just burn it
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
watching that guy play. Or, you know, if you listen to old, you know, P-Funk records or Ohio Players, and I'm just like, man, them guys are so good.
Yeah.
But I never really wanted to get to that shreddy place. So it's always been straightforward rock, especially for the bass playing. You know, I would rather just go do-do, 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 and then have somebody, you know, a strong backbeat, and then let the guitar player who's been spinning his whole life, you know, shredding,
Yeah.
let him get out there and go, I'll just be in the back doing the backbeat.
Okay.
So
Okay. Now that has do you have formal training, or did you
No.
you taught yourself?
no. In middle school, I played the trumpet because, you know, you got to play music, and we couldn't
Yeah.
afford to keep the trumpet, unfortunately. So,
Okay.
you know, you don't rent the trumpet when you're in school, and so so
Right.
that's, I can read music, not well. You know, I go to watch orchestras all the time, and they're amazing that they can sight read and do all this. If you sat me down with a piece of music, I could play it, but I would be going, damn it, damn it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's better for me to actually learn the piece, memorize the piece, than to try to sight read.
Okay. Now, when it comes to doing that, do you do any kind of improvisation, or are
Depends.
you just kind of strict to what it is?
It depends on the song. I think the song will lead you to, you know, if you're playing a blues song, I mean, you ain't gonna stay do 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 do. You're gonna have to play some licks, in
Yeah.
there, or you'd be bored to death.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing a straightforward rock song, or if you're doing a cover song, you really want to try to stay as true to the cover song. You might still throw some licks in there, and I still
Right.
do. And
Okay.
you know, little run here and there. Right now, I'm in truck, and it's country, and so there's a lot of stuff going on with the bass usually. So I'll fiddle around. you
Okay.
know,
Okay. That's awesome.
when I'm
man.
not having to sing.
Are you
'Cause
not a singer at all?
No,
Do you?
I sing. In fact, the two projects that I'm really in right now is Truck. It's a country band, and then my rock act, Stone Agony. I'm actually playing guitar
Uh-oh.
and singing lead vocals in that.
Hold on as we pause. I just lost myself as a matter of
You don't need to hear what I'm saying.
I
actually
do.
I saw a picture. You play PRS?
Yeah,
Yeah.
PRS, yeah.
Nice little faux pas there, ladies and gentlemen. but
90s
I
custom
am back.
24. It's
Beautiful guitar. And I was going to say, I saw pictures of you like singing too, so I know you were contributing there vocally as well. And so
so as soon as he gets his stuff together here,
A little technical difficulty there.
you got to keep that in.
Okay, there we
I love
go.
that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
man.
absolutely, absolutely.
well, I can cut it out or we can leave it in. I don't
Nice
care.
little blooper right
Yeah.
there for lady. For
Let them know this is
listening
real,
audience.
man. This ain't packaged,
No,
prepackaged.
not at all. Not at all. It's straightforward right at you, raw and uncut. That's the good stuff that comes from that.
So I've always been a singer.
Mhm.
And in fact, when I first started playing in bands, I wanted to be a lead singer.
Okay.
Unfortunately, late 80s, early 90s, you had to look a certain way. I'm 5'6", and I've been heavy pretty much my whole life, and I didn't have the look to be a lead singer.
Okay.
And so I would play bass in bands because I could play a little bit,
Right.
And then they'd always want me to sing backups. So, and over the years, I've gotten better at doing harmonies. I wish I had that ability. There are guys who could just pull a vocal harmony right out of thin air. You do one note, they can just pull right out of there, and I kind of have to sing my way into it.
Okay.
I wish I had that ability to just drop that in there, but I've tried to do lead singing where I could. One of the bands I was in is called Medal of Honor, and it's an 80s hair metal tribute band.
Nice.
And so we're a three-piece. And so I got to sing about a third of the songs, and that really strengthened my voice from just doing backup vocals in most of the bands I've been up to that point to now I had to really sing and sing high.
Yeah.
And we tuned down. I'm not going to lie to y'all. 'Cause
Okay.
them guys could reach some high notes, and I am too big and too male to sing some of those high notes.
Some of that Bruce Dickinson stuff,
Ooh,
and
Lord.
yeah.
And so recently I've always tried to balance the cover band stuff with the original band stuff.
Okay.
Because I just feel like I need that. I have musical ADD. I can't just play one style of music. I can't just play one genre of music. And so I bounce around. And so these guys approached me a couple years ago and said, hey, our singer left. Would you want to do original music again? And I'm like, oh yeah, great, three-piece. And they're like, no, we have a bass player. And I'm like, I have bass tattooed on my arm. That's kind of what I'm known for. And they're
Right.
like, but we think you could play rhythm guitar. And I was like, yeah, I kind of play guitar a little. But so it's been really cool. The past couple of years, we just finished recording.
Nice.
And so we should be releasing soon. The band's called Stone Agony.
Okay.
The EP is called The Art of Bad Decisions. And the songs that are in there fit that kind of title. So
Right.
I can't wait till people hear it. It's the first time I've recorded lead vocals.
Okay.
And guitar. And actually I played bass on it too, because we had a whole thing with our bass player. I don't want to go into this, his life story, so I don't want to go into what happened,
Yeah,
but he had
yeah.
to take a break.
Okay.
And so we had the recording time already scheduled. And so he was like, you can play the bass. And I was like, okay, I'll do the bass on that.
Right.
And so
Right.
when he comes back though, if we ever do shows, I don't know if we're going to do shows or not. We did it as a recording project, a couple old guys sitting around drinking bourbon and writing songs. And then literally that's what it's been. I mean,
Yeah.
you come in and it's like, you don't have the bourbon? Oh, go get it, and we wrote some, what I thought were pretty cool songs, and they're rock songs. They're
Absolutely.
straightforward, man. We're not changing the world. I'm not U2.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just straightforward rock. I think people will like it. I hope they do anyways.
Right. Well, I'm excited to hear when it comes out, man.
If you can't tell, I'll talk.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't
That's
have
what
to
it's.
worry. You don't have to worry about
That's
the
what we're here
segment
for.
stopping
No,
you.
hey, that's what we're about, man. We love going down. I love going down rabbit holes.
There's
My
probably not
favorite.
going to be any dead air.
No, it's all good. My favorite podcast out there, and I claim it to this day, is Questlove's podcast, and that is what he wants from the people that he interviews, man. If it takes one thing and goes into something else, I will not stop you, man, because that's what we're about. This is a conversation type of podcast. Yes, I have questions to ask you, but I want those questions to lead into other things if I possible. So anything that I throw at you, if you start with that, but end up finishing with something else, that's quite all right, man.
We're just not trivia battling because I can't hang with you, man. I can't hang with you. I know a little bit, and you know a whole lot. So.
That's that latchkey kid in me coming out, man, because doing all that stuff when both of my parents worked and I just had nothing else to do once I finished homework. I'm listening to music and soaking all that stuff in. But
well, I can always recognize the song, and they'll come over and I'll be like, oh man, what is that? Or like, I'll know the artist, but I couldn't tell you what the song title is.
Right.
And then I look over at you and you're going, dang it, he knows it.
I just can't help it, man. I mean, to me, and I've said this time and time again, music is like air to me. If you take music away from me, you might as well just kill me because I need to have
Oh
music.
yeah, no, I'm gonna be 80. They're gonna roll me out there,
Yep.
Hannibal Lecter style, put the bass in my
Yep,
hands, and just
absolutely.
have at it, Grandpa.
Right. As long as I can sing a note, I will be doing this until the day I die because that's just what music means to me. Absolutely. So how old were you when you actually, I mean, you said you were 8 when you got the guitar, but when did you actually start playing bass? Was it 8?
No, not until I was a teenager.
Okay.
You know, you kind of tool around
Yeah.
with, but you're still a little kid, you know. I mean, and I wish I would have had the drive and dedication to keep, you know, actually working on it. But
Mhm.
that wasn't until I was a teenager, and it was the late '80s, and I was trying to pick up chicks. So
Right.
you know,
Right.
you try to get in bands. I grew my hair out. I had
Absolutely.
the sweet feathery mullet. I mean, if you have the ability, you should go back in and put that picture of me up with the feathery mullet. It was hot, dude. It was so hot. But as I became a teenager and started to want to do that more, like I said, I really wanted to be a lead singer at the time, but I couldn't really find that. And so I started playing bass. And one of the first bands I was ever in was called Hollywood Tees.
Okay.
It's so 80s cheese, man.
Right,
It was
right,
all
right.
covers, but it was great. It was fun. I was playing bass. I was doing background vocals. We was taking pictures. We thought we were big stuff. Never played a single show.
Wow. What kind of covers?
All 80s hair metal stuff. So we
Okay.
were doing Cinderella, Bon Jovi, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it was, you know, it was fun, but we weren't serious. We were kids. We
Yeah.
were just having fun. At the time, I wouldn't even have been able to tell you how to book a show or how to get in with a club or any of that stuff.
Mhm.
We would see people and we would give them our picture and go, "Hey, we're a band."
And that'd be it.
Yeah, nothing came of it, unfortunately. but it did. Excuse me.
Oh, absolutely.
It did start my love for playing bass a lot more.
Okay.
And I really got serious after that. And once I got into college, so I kind of messed around in my
Mhm.
teenage years. It wasn't until I got to college that I got really serious about playing music. So.
Okay. Okay. And when you got, and what was that? I mean, getting into college, I mean, you've got a whole bunch of different things, trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out how you're going to fit into this world. What made you actually just sink into music then?
I lived with a drummer and we had a band, and I don't know, it was never intentional. It was just,
Mhm.
you know, he was playing and he was like, you know, let's get a band going. And we met another guy at Wright State, Chris Suttle, great guy, great musician.
Yeah.
And he started jamming with us and we started writing songs and playing shows. And then that band didn't really go very far. We played some shows and did some stuff. And then
What was the name of that band?
that band was called Mind Trip.
Okay.
And then after that, me and Chris Suttle formed another band called Standing 8.
Okay.
And that's kind of the first band that anybody who knows me locally kind of knows me from.
Okay.
And we were playing McGuffey's at the time. And
Ah,
there was
shout
a
out to
bar.
McGuffey's.
There was a bar in Kettering called Twisters that was the best. I love that bar.
Where was that located?
It was on. It's Dorothy. Right after you cross Woodman, there's a Taco Bell over there.
Yeah.
And then there's another building, and I forget what it's called now. It's right before you get to the barbecue place and all that. But anyways, it used to be called Twisters, and great place. There was an old couple that owned it, Russ and Muriel. They loved it. They loved all the rock music, and they bring us in there and take care of us. And that was where I kind of started to get close with some of the local musicians. I'm still friends with a lot of those guys today,
Right.
like Carlos Miller. You know, I met him back in those days.
Okay.
And we're all still friends. So.
Right. Right. Okay. And how many shows did you do with them?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. Lots. Yeah,
Countless?
And Standing 8 specifically was the first time we ever went anywhere. So we played some Pittsburgh shows, we played some
Oh,
Indianapolis
wow.
shows, we played some Detroit shows.
Remind me again, was that a cover band also?
No, we would do 95% originals and we'd play a cover or two.
Okay.
And I still have some CDs if anybody wants a Standing 8 CD.
I would love to. I would actually love it.
Seriously,
My car has a CD player.
When we moved,
I love it.
When we moved, I found a stack of promo pics and CDs, and I was like, I can't believe I still have these.
Wow.
They make great coasters.
Well, I mean, it probably made great music too. I mean,
Well,
I'd
I
love
think
to
the
listen to
songs
it.
are on there pretty cool. It was where I was starting to come into my own. I hadn't done any background vocals really yet.
Mhm.
I was really focused on bass, and it was cool. And those guys actually morphed into another band after I left called 8 Count, and those guys went on to do bigger things too, especially down in the Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
And a small world story, Nick Tyree from the Rita Rock Band was in 8 Count for a while. So it's just the world's small. We all know
Wow.
each other. If you play music anywhere in the vicinity, you probably know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
Jeff Eller,
Uh-huh.
he was in A-Town.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine. He just moved to Texas, so he's out of the music scene now,
Oh, wow.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I remember Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool how things can evolve and change, and we're all still around. And I've had the good fortune of not burning bridges. I've always been really good friends with the people that I've played in bands with.
Yeah.
And we've never been so serious about the ends of the bands to think, oh, well, I hate you, I'll never talk to you
Right.
again. And it's just always dissolved because, things are natural and things change, And like I said earlier, I have musical ADD. So if I'm playing one style of music for too long, I get the shakes, man. It's like I got to play something else.
Okay. Okay.
And that's nothing against the guys I play with. Obviously, I love surrounding myself with good musicians, but
Right.
I always have to be changing and doing something different.
Yeah. Now, when you're playing with other guys that, of course, seem to be not necessarily experts, but very, very good at what they do, did that kind of motivate you to try and play better?
Oh,
Or be
100%.
better?
No, if I can give one piece of advice to anybody that's starting bands, find people who are better than you. Even if you can't jam with them all the time, jam with people who are better than you. Jam with people who aren't as good as you. And the reason I say that is because the more input and the more you kind of work with other folks and hear their styles and show them your styles, it just develops you. The one thing that I'm very proud of over the years is that I have jammed with a lot of people. And I think that they've all colored my musical abilities.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you can play with people who are better than you, always do it.
Nice. Nice. Absolutely, man. So when you got out of college, what was that like? Band-wise, music-wise?
So the year I graduated was 2000 or 99.
Okay.
And the beginning of 2000, I almost moved to San Antonio, Texas for a band. I was going to throw caution to the wind, go to Texas, be in this band.
Now, were they from Texas or were they
They're from Texas.
Okay.
But I actually have really good friends in San Antonio. And so they had a band down there. And funny enough, the very first remember earlier I was telling you I lived with a drummer and he was part of my first band. That was his band.
Okay.
He had moved to Texas. And so they were getting a little bit of notice down in San Antonio. And the great name of the band, it was called Monkey Porn.
Monkey Porn. Wow.
And it was 2000s, just straightforward, just dirty rock. It was Southern Texas dirty rock.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And their shows were amazing. And I was like, I'm going to move to Texas. And I got the job that I have now, almost 25 years later.
Wow.
And so I just didn't go and decided to stay here and work and I don't regret it because I don't think they lasted much longer.
Right.
And I would have, completely uprooted my entire life for something that didn't last that long.
Yeah.
So I made the right decision.
Now that your buddy, the drummer, is he still playing music?
I don't think he is. I know he moved to Florida not that long ago, and he pops up on my Facebook every now and again, but I don't think he's playing music anymore.
Okay.
So, and then after that, I was still kind of in Standing 8 at that time. And once that kind of broke up, I started playing with some cover bands. One of them was a country band called the Highway Junkies, which was fun. What was cool about that was, a musical ADD again. Some of the guys in Highway Junkies was like, well, we want to do this metal project too. So while we were doing country music, we were also doing metal.
Nice.
And what was hilarious is we would play these country shows and just right in the middle of a country set, break into metal songs.
Yeah.
My drummer would go, doom, 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 doom. And all of a sudden we start playing Slayer and all the country guys would be like,
Not knowing what they're thinking, like what is going on here. Yeah.
We don't understand what you're doing, but it was fun.
Well, that's interesting that you say that because that's going to lead into my next question, which you were in a cover band of one of my favorite bands from the 90s. And still to this day, I play their second, their second full length release, Dirt. To me is one of my favorite albums across the board. If you ask me to name one of my favorite albums, it would definitely be there every single time. And that is Alice in Chains. And you were in a cover band of Alice in Chains called Hollow. Tell me about that.
I said early on that I would never do tribute music. Like I'll do covers, but I never wanted to be a full-on tribute band because I just thought it would, be terrible and you get tired of the songs, quick or whatever. But I always said if I did do a tribute band, it'd be Alice in Chains. Because 100%, I'm with you. They're one of my favorite bands, the best band of the grunge era.
Yeah, I believe so.
All fight Nirvana guys all the time.
Yeah.
Alice in Chains was the band.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing and it was fun. And we didn't look like Alice in Chains, but dang, I think we sounded a whole lot like Alice in Chains. Dave Peterson and Greg, they did the vocals perfectly. I mean, they just sounded amazing. And I even bought a Spectre because Mikey Starr and Mike Inez both played Spectres, and we tried to get our sound to be almost exactly what it sounded like.
Right.
And it was fun, and I had a lot of fun. And we did a show at Bogart's that we didn't think anything of. It was a tribute night. It was all grunge tribute, and they gave us tickets to give away or whatever. And so we were the first band on, and we walked out there, and the place had sold out. They were turning people away.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for this.
Right.
I mean, I was ready. I usually don't get nervous about shows. I usually just, I'm out there and I'm doing it. And once the light hits, I'm rocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for a second, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Where all these people come from?
Yeah.
Because we weren't expecting it. And so from there, Live Nation, who does the booking, they were like, well, we want to tour this package. So for all of 2017, we were touring around. I got to play St. Andrews Hall. We got to play the Hard Rock, the Vogue in Indy, a couple places down in Kentucky, like oh gosh, what's the name of the place down in Louisville? I can't think of it, but big venues, great shows, and we did that for about a year or so.
Was it the Palace Theater in Louisville?
It might have been Palace, yeah.
Okay.
But we did tons of great shows, and then it just kind of dried up, unfortunately. The Live Nation guys were like, yeah, this is fun, but I think we're gonna, dial back, and then I didn't want to do the tribute thing in the local places.
Right.
Like, I only wanted to do big shows. Like if we'd have done JD Legends or something like that, I probably would have been into it, but I wasn't going to do it at Cats.
Right.
You know what I mean? And nothing against it. It's, again, I try to explain to people, it's not that I think I'm too good for a venue. I'd play Cats anytime. But when you do a tribute act like that, you want it to be a show.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You don't want it to be just, down at Shecky's Bar and Grill.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
Right. I would have loved to have seen that show because, of course, like I said, I mentioned Dirt as one of my favorite albums.
They're still, Hollow's still a band.
Are they?
Yeah, Hollow's still a band.
Okay.
I don't know if they'll be playing locally anytime soon, but if they do, look them up. The Hollow Alice in Chains tribute on Facebook. They still, and the guys that are in it also do a Stone Temple Pilots, so they kind of package it together. And Dave Peterson's amazing. He's one of my favorite guitar players in the area.
Okay.
And he's just this grumpy old man that sits in his house and just plays guitar all the time. but he's amazing. And you definitely leave that in because I want Dave to hear me call him a grumpy old man.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Don't take it personal, Dave. It's all love, man.
He knows I love it. I call him a curmudgeon. He gets it. So.
That's all good, man.
I think I hear the dog snoring. Do you hear the dog snoring?
I think so.
Can we get a camera on the dog?
She's not necessarily excited on that.
She's 15 and she has COPD. Hold on,
I was like, I'm just not that exciting, I guess. Oh, sorry, we didn't mean to wake you.
Right. There you are.
She looks 15 years old.
Exactly.
She's like, what the hell, man? What's going on?
Oh, man, to hear that bass line of wood come from you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, and the nuances just overdriven enough to where it sounds filthy. It's a great bass line.
Okay.
If I just chime in too because our tribute band played with you guys a couple times, and you're right about the marketability of it because, and I'm sure this was certain with Alice in Chains too, but you guys and us. You had people driving in from 2 hours away, 3 hours away because they're huge Alice in Chains fans. And there's a tribute band. We'll drive to Dayton and spend the night and pump some money into the economy and have a good time. And then, next thing you know, you got a couple fans. So we ran into that a lot, and that was really humbling. And it goes to you're absolutely right. You really need to pick and choose your venues intelligently when you do a project like that.
Yeah.
So. Well, and cool story about that. We made a fan named Jerry Reichelldorfer. He had never seen us, didn't know us from anybody, came to see Hollow play.
Okay.
Jerry's the guitar player in Stone Agony, my rock band that just recorded the EP. So it's small world. I'm telling you, the world is tiny.
Okay. So what made TRUK be TRUK? How did that come about?
Well, those guys were already a thing.
Okay.
Kenny and Ty already had a thing going. And those guys, so it's a cool story about them. They both met down in San Antonio.
Wow.
They're both in the, Ty was in the Air Force and Kenny comes from an Air Force family. And so they both worked at the base. And so their jobs got moved up here to Wright Pat. And so they came up together basically. And so they were like, we'll just hit like the local scene, play some acoustic stuff or whatever. And they played for a while as a duo. And then they added Norm Lilly for a while. And so they were doing truck with Norm and playing around, just doing acoustic stuff basically. And Norm ended up leaving. Excuse me. And they were like, "Hey, you want to do it?" Because they knew, I'd been to see him a bunch of times, and they could hear me singing harmony vocals in the background. So
Yeah.
they, and I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to play country again." And I really wanted to play acoustic music because I hadn't really done that. And,
well, what is it? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
what
you're
was
good.
it about Truck that? I mean, what made you just even go see them? You know what I mean?
Because they're hilarious. They're the most fun, no ego guys. They make fun of themselves. They have fun, and they're really good musicians, really good singers. But it's the fun factor. People always ask me if I'm in a country band, and I always tell them I'm in a country band. And I know that's corny, but I guarantee if you come see Truck play, you're gonna have fun.
Which I have.
Because we're goofy and we don't take ourselves too seriously. And the music's still good. When we take the music seriously, we're not up there, just ham-fisting our way through songs. Like
Right.
We're playing the songs, but we have fun. I'll go over and kick Ty when he messes up or something. You know what I mean? It's a good time. Listen, and I'm not just pandering, but it's like the Party Punch thing. Like, you guys are out there having fun. Who wants to go see a band that's staring at their shoes? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
what fun is that?
Right. Absolutely.
And if the band ain't having fun, how can you expect the people to have fun?
Right.
So,
And I'm a firm believer of, just like you, the performance of it. I have to have a good time. Because I feed off of the energy of that crowd wherever we play. I mean,
the one thing I'll pride myself on, and I've had somebody tell me this: they've seen me play to 2 people, and they see me play to a full room, and they say it's the same show.
It's the same. I'm a firm
and that's
believer
the biggest
of that.
compliment you can give me, because
200, 220, 220,000.
those
It's the
2
same to
people
me.
are there to see you.
Yep.
And why would I feel less about those 2 people?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I have the same belief system when it comes to that, because they took time out to come and see what we were all about. And the last thing I want them to go away from was, really, that was it. Like,
man, they sure seemed like they wasn't into it tonight.
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
I wish they would have been a little bit more into it. No,
Yeah.
Never. I want you to come away from every show that you see me at saying, "Man, that Nick was up there being crazy."
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So with Truck, you guys have been together. How long have you been with the band?
Oh gosh, I've been with them for 3 years, maybe 4. I've been with them for a little while now.
Okay.
And it really, when I joined up, it was the 3 of us. And then we added Doug Warner on lead guitar and dobro and whatever stringed instrument he can pick up, because he's amazing. And then we're like, well, we should play with a drummer. And so we had a drummer for a little while, and he had to go away. And then we picked up our current drummer, Joel. Music Small World. He's actually the drummer of Stone Agony.
Wow.
My rock band. So I keep all these people around,
Right.
Because you never know, man.
Absolutely.
You might need a guitar player. Be like, "Hey, you want to play guitar in this band?" Yeah. So
Absolutely.
So and those shows, like I said, are fun, and we have a good time. And we don't play a lot. We play once a month, a couple times a month tops, and so you don't get tired of it. And we try to play some different shows, different places. The bar here. We've had the good fortune of being added to the St. Helens rotation, so we played the St. Helens Festival a couple years.
Okay.
And that speaks to my heart, being a East End dude.
Yeah.
We used to go to St. Helens all the time.
Yeah.
So
Okay, Nick. Man, you've got me literally speechless, because just everything that you're saying is just very, very not necessarily informational, but I mean, I'm learning a lot about you, and I'm definitely having fun listening to you, because just like I said, when we started this podcast, we believe that, I think the one thing about people, no matter your politics, no matter whatever it is that you feel about life, music is a great connector. And no matter even what kind of music you listen to, somewhere along that line, if somebody is even just a metalhead for all intents and purposes, I bet you I could still find something within that that I can connect to. Even country, I'm not a huge listener of country, but I grew up, watching Hee Haw, because strangely enough, that's what my parents would watch on Saturday nights. But, you can always find that connector. And I knew that when I was talking to you, like I said, when we had our little mini conversations just about the different things and just different licks, and just, oh my God, Scott's playing something in the middle of break, and we're all just like charged. Almost like everybody in the place is kind of hyped, because, it stirs up memories and good times for you.
He plays Eric B. and Rakim, and nobody at my table knew it. And I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. ooh, I got this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of great because, sometimes, I mean, I get that too. Like, everybody's like, Brandon, how'd you know that? It's like, well, I grew up listening to a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff stuck with me. And I can't say, that I'm a disliker of really anything. Some things I prefer more than others, is really the down home answer for me, because I don't necessarily hate really any music out there. If I choose not to listen to it, it's because I heard it already, and that's just not for me. But I'll never just be like, Slayer, what? No, there's Slayer out there that I'm just like, okay, Raining Blood, let's bring it on. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm the same, and it disappoints me when somebody's like, oh, nobody's making good music, or there's no music.
You're not looking.
And I'm like, you're not looking at all.
You're not looking.
Fantastic music out there. Maybe the radio stations locally aren't playing, or you're not hitting the right streams or whatever. But I'm telling you, whatever genre you want, there are young kids out there making absolutely wonderful music, and you just gotta look for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, who are some of your favorite bass players?
Well, Gene Simmons, obviously. Okay. John Paul Jones, Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath, Victor. But I love Victor Wooten, but I can't play like him. Stanley Clarke, all the greats, Jocko, Les Claypool. I could sit here and give you the whole list.
You can.
Gene Simmons is basically what I've modeled my bass playing after.
Okay.
And then I got a little older and got really into Black Sabbath for a while, and Geezer's bass lines are amazing.
Right.
JPJ from Zeppelin's bass lines are amazing. Flea, amazing. I tried to play a bunch of Red Hot Chili Peppers the one day, and I got frustrated. And I was just like, and that kid wasn't even a bass player to start.
Really?
Yeah, he was a trumpetist to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he played bass on the side.
See, now that's interesting because I knew he played trumpet. I just didn't know he started with trumpet.
That was his big deal. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I don't know where else to go, man. I mean, I'm definitely not one to stop this, but I came into this just wide open, not necessarily having any questions, but I do like everything that you have been saying, Nick. I mean, it's just you seem like you soak up a lot. You're definitely a sponge when it comes to this, and it just comes back out. Like you said, you have this musical ADD, but that musical ADD is what helps you with the music that you do like. I mean, or the music that you've listened to, the music that you grew up to, the people that influenced you. And, it just shows with the different avenues that you take. Is there one avenue, or is there many avenues that you haven't touched yet that you want to touch?
I want to play with a horn section.
Okay.
Like badly. Like I've never played with like a big brass section, I want to be up there with like 20 dudes. I want to be Parliament. I want to be up there with like 20 dudes, a cat running around a diaper. Seriously, like I've never played with a horn section. I played with keyboard players who put horns in the music, but I've never played with the actual brass section. So if you're looking for a bass player, call me up. Or a background vocalist. I'll be one of them cats back in the background going, hey. Call me.
Hey, if it comes down to it, man, I definitely have your number and I can get in touch with you, man. I've had that fortune. And it's really nice because when you hear the music played live from these musicians that have learned it, and it sounds exactly like you hear it when, with the recording that you hear, it's just I just sit back and smile because it's just a beautiful tone. I mean, whether it be from trumpet, trombone. I did a Christmas show, and the trumpet player also played the flugelhorn, and even that tone was just, oh my goodness, like I enjoyed every second of it, and not only during the show but also the rehearsals because they were on it then. I mean, these guys were just amazing musicians, and I think just like you said. Hearing people that are better makes you want to be better, and I'm singing, but yet hearing these horns sound the way they do.
If somebody hit a lick behind you, be like, damn.
Right. You kind of turn your head like, wait a minute, where did that come from? But when it's nice, it's really nice, man. Yeah. So you know what? Let's go into that foray. You mentioned Eric B. and Rakim. What has hip hop meant to you?
Oh, loved it. So I'll just go out and say it. Northland Village was a hood, and I love that because, I always tell people, like, if you grew up where I grew up, you were exposed to everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I appreciated that because we were integrated, we were mixed. You know, my neighbors all look different than me.
Yep.
We all listen to different music. You know, I always joke that I was invited to the barbecue a long time ago because we was all there, you know? But I learned a lot of life skills from that. I learned, you know, my parents are different than, you know, so I grew up with a kid named Eric Hamp.
Okay.
And Eric's parents took me in. They didn't care what I looked like. They just was like, this little boy's coming over. He's being, you know, mindful and not being rude. And so I learned their music, you know. That Eric's family would listen to Motown. I'd never been exposed to Motown. I loved it.
Yeah.
And so it's the 80s, man. Rap was getting big.
Yeah.
You know, and
Absolutely.
I remember the first time I heard like the Fat Boys rap and Beastie Boys and all that stuff and Curtis Blow. And I was just like, man, I love this. And then at the same time, I was listening to Michael Jackson. I was listening to Prince. I was listening to Madonna. And you know, I had the old rock records from my family. And just, it was that amalgamation of just all of it was amazing. And I loved it. And then it was cool because once the 80s kind of turned into the 90s and there was some blending, especially when hip hop and rock would kind of blend. Anthrax and Public Enemy, man, that's blew my mind. Like, I blew my mind and I loved it. Actually, Fear of a Black Planet is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Speak on it.
You know, I got a letter from the, but you know, I love Public Enemy. I don't know, it's any extremes to music or anything that's I won't say aggressive, but like that hard, you know what I mean? I was always into. And I think that's why I really love like really heavy metal. And I really liked, you know, the gangster stuff when it was coming up. First time I ever heard 6 in the Morning by Ice-T, I was like, oh man. Yeah. Like, this is me.
Yeah. And it's so simple, so simplistic. I mean, it's him rhyming just over a simple beat, and then those little keyboard horn stabs be in between verses. But it's just such a powerful statement.
But it was I mean, saying aggressive is wrong. But you know what I mean? It was in your face.
Yeah.
It was, you know, it was out there. It was, you know, I love that.
Well, aggressive's not really a wrong term because I mean, in that, during that time, it was almost now or nothing kind of feeling. I mean, you know, of course, rap is somewhat of $1 billion industry now, but when it was coming out, it was still being looked at as just a fad. It was looked at as something that it's not going to last. It doesn't have any staying power.
Yeah, they said that. This is a fad.
This is a fad. They don't have any staying power, but now it's made such an impact. But at the time, you had to give it your all. I mean, even, like you said, even with the Fat Boys, even in their, not necessarily, they weren't necessarily comical, but they weren't quote unquote hardcore. But even with what they brought was still in your face. Yeah, I mean, the human beatbox, you hear that beat coming out of his chest every time he did the beatbox. So it was like they had to give you, and it's kind of funny because it reminds me of, you named the funk bands earlier, like the funk bands in the 70s. Funk bands in the 70s weren't given a lot of studio time. So when they were in the studio with what limited time they had, they gave you everything they had. They didn't have a choice. They left it all out there on the table. It was mixed down. Some of it was 15 minutes long. Some of it was 3 minutes long. Some of it was 7 minutes, but it was everything that they had to give you. And I think hip hop back then was definitely that. And so, you know, aggressive may sound intimidating, but I think it's a term that actually fits.
You feeling me? You understand what I'm
absolutely. 100%, man. I am probably self-proclaimed one of the biggest Public Enemy fans. I've seen them 11 times. Yeah. And 7 of those times were between 1989 to 1996. I could not get enough of them. And it was everything from Flavor Flav being goofy on stage, to Chuck D's powerful vocals, to Terminator X's scratching, to seeing the S1Ws doing all those militarized movements on stage. Everything about them was very catchy. And just like you said, even with Kiss, the stage performance, they knew how to bring a stage performance 100% every time. And then when it surprised people to see Flav be a classic musician playing piano, drums, I think he plays bass. I think he plays a little guitar too. Like, all of this comes out and you're just looking at this guy like, wait a minute, he was just running around with a clock around his neck going, yeah, boy. And you're thinking that's it about him. But yet underneath that layer, there's this musician who, you know, is shocking the hell out of people with the musical ability that he actually has. So yeah, man, aggressive.
It speaks culturally though, because, you know, that whenever you see something, and folks will put the stereotype on there or whatever, well, he's just a rapper.
Right.
That's a lot of times, man. Those guys are super accomplished musicians.
Right.
And you're just seeing the output of their artistic creativity.
Exactly.
You know, and rapping is their medium.
Yeah.
It's no different than a painter, you know, with a paintbrush, or, you know, who's more skilled at painting, the graffiti artist or the, you know, Rembrandt. I say they're equal.
Right.
Because they're both working in their mediums and they're both expressing themselves
exactly.
that way. That's more important to me. And that's why I think music is that way too, because you can't just say, well, this is the type of music that's good. You can't, because everyone is expressing themselves artistically.
Right.
And whether you get it or you get it, somebody's going to get it. And, you know, when I write originals these days, I ain't trying to get streams. I ain't trying to be famous. Lord, I don't want to be famous. Please do not blow up my song. But I also want somebody to get it. And I also want somebody to go, man, that lyric's poignant. And I get it, what he's saying. And, you know, if one person is cool with it, then great. But if not, I'm still writing it.
Right.
So,
now, as a songwriter, what kind of space do you live in? Like, is it very personal, or is it, you know, maybe your thoughts and ideas, but you kind of, quote unquote, give it a character?
So it's both. I've written songs that were completely autobiographical about how I came up, you know, things happen in my life. I wrote a song about somebody pissed me off in a movie theater.
Okay.
You know, and but then I've also written songs that are, you know, just stories. I think that are cool stories. It doesn't always have to be personal. I think that, you know, you can be just a storyteller.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's good to get that emotion out too.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Now, do you have favorite songwriters out there?
Mostly like, you know, like, I'm trying to think of some guys, and you put me on the spot there, but like,
see, there we go. Finally.
It's all acoustic stuff, like Jason Isbell and that kind of stuff, where they're just like, their lyrics are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you even come up with that kind of stuff?
Right.
But yeah, there are some out there, and you got me on the spot, and I can't think of anybody's names.
It's all good, Nick.
You got me.
It's all good, man. I'm familiar with Jason Isbell. I mean, as a matter of fact, interestingly enough, my fiance and I, we were watching the first season opener of American Idol on Sunday. And before anybody wants to try and jump down my back about it, I literally just watch them for the auditions because I like to hear what the judges are listening to and what they think is going to actually go take them to Hollywood. I'm not too concerned about the top 20, no offense, but I just like to hear. And one of the things that I do appreciate now that American Idol is going back to is just actually having people sing that are really good singers, not just all this crappy, we're just going to put them through and make you guys laugh at these people. Like, no, these are actually some good singers. But the point I was getting at was that one of the guys on Sunday actually sang a Jason Isbell song for his audition, and I was like in awe of it. Like, I was literally frozen listening to this guy. And it might have been of course, the vocal quality, but the song that was actually being sung was kind of poignant, and I liked that. And, you know, I was a late bloomer when it came to that. I mean, even when it came to rap, like, you know, I'm a couple of years older than you, Nick, but we also grew up in an era where, you know, hip hop actually started, and we can remember that. You know, we can't remember seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. We weren't there.
Absolutely.
We can't remember seeing James Brown performing, you know, on TV. I mean, we may have seen him later in life, but it was like either the footage of it or, you know, him performing later in life and, you know, after passing. But we were there when hip hop started. And even back then, a lot of the hip hop that I was listening to, I technically wasn't listening to what they were saying. I just liked how they said it. And then as I got older, I was just like, okay, that's powerful. That means something. I'm going to stick with that. And I think that's where my love for Public Enemy came in, because that's what they were doing. They were trying to tell you something. They were trying to give you something of substance. And the presentation of it may have looked almost intimidating. I mean, you know, one of their interludes actually it was a call-in show on Fear of a Black Planet. And the guy was talking about how he saw guys on stage with Uzis and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, but there's a certain urgency to what that was about, and that's what the point of their lyrics were. There's urgency. We can't just sit around and just let things happen. We've got to kind of take command and take charge of things within our life. If not, we're going to lose a lot of things. So that song that he sang, excuse me, on Sunday, the one audition, that had that same kind of feeling. Like I just could not turn away from it because it was just that powerful of a song.
And it's balanced too. I think that you need those guys who are saying something, but you also need the goofy.
Oh, absolutely.
You want to party sometimes too, and you don't want to have to hear.
Yeah, I listen to Public Enemy just as much as I listen to Biz Markie, and Biz is definitely not saying anything.
Exactly.
He is just being funny.
See, that's what I was going to say.
That's how he is.
Slick Rick versus like KRS-One. You know what I mean? The Slick Rick's party, and KRS is spitting knowledge. So.
Right. Absolutely, man. Well, I don't know. I don't think I should end this. I don't really have a feeling of ending it. I'm just not sure where to go next.
If the people say so, we'll do a part 2, man. I ain't scared.
Hey, it's actually funny because each one of our guests, the last 2 guests, our 2 previous guests,
I watched you. You had Magic Mike and you had Sticks on.
Yeah, man. I definitely have part 2s coming from
That's
those
what I was
guys.
like, man, he's got all these good musicians on. He gonna bring me up in here.
Nah, man, you're a good musician.
Nonsense and whatever.
You're a good look.
I can't compete with Sticks, man.
Hey,
you bring good musicians in here.
That would actually be interesting just to see. Look, the 3 guys that I've already talked to, I'd love to see them in a jam session just to see what goes on. Because I mean, you and I kind of love this term. I might have to adopt it. Musical ADD and Sticks himself, and even Mike for that matter, have all played different genres of music. Have all played different things, and that can possibly come together and also be great. It's because you guys have got a lot of different
podcast
sources.
We're gonna have to move it downstairs, B.
There's a little bit more room down there. The drum set is
in
my living room right now.
We might have to, no offense to you, Daryl Hall out there, but we might have to steal his idea and let's like have performances along with the podcast conversation. Because I'm enjoying this. I'm digging this. And like I was about to say, Nick, you're a cool dude, man.
Thanks, man.
And it's not about me gassing you up because you've got, you've got Stone Agony coming out, or you may have a truck show coming out, or whatever it is. I put you on this show because I was interested in you and wanted to know about you. I've got a lot of guests that I have lined up that I'm looking forward to talking to. Of course, I need to ask them, but I'm sure they're going to say yes because this is going to be the podcast that you guys will want to be on. Just gonna toot my own horn there, but you definitely
toot, man.
Yeah, man, you definitely were on the list because
I appreciate that.
I just absolutely.
Sorry, I had to.
Because that's another thing we need to add, that we need to incorporate, man. We gotta have these sounds. We gotta have these sounds coming in, man. It just helps.
Next episode 4, I'll have a little pad for you.
There you go.
That'll work.
We'll make whatever you
start
want.
learning to scream with sound effects.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was like I just knew that when I started this, and actually, Brian was the one who introduced me to this. He kind of asked me, well, what do you think about doing a podcast? And as soon as he gave me an idea, I just kind of rolled with it. And really everything in my head haven't come out. It's not even been put to paper yet, but I just knew that the people that I want on this show are people that I'm very interested in, people that I'm very curious about. And that's one of the things I am. Even outside of this podcast, I'm curious about people. Like I said, your walk of life is an interesting one. And whether I learn something from it or I just take in what you're saying and walk away with that to me is a lot. And that means a lot to me because I do care about people, and music to me is one of those connectors. Like I said, I can talk music with anybody. Challenge me.
Obviously.
Yeah, challenge me. I can talk to anybody about it because even if I don't know classical, even if I don't know Baroque, even if I don't know death metal, what you tell me about it, I'm going to listen to and soak in because that lets me know how you feel about it, and I care about how you feel about it.
Well, you can read people's excitement.
Absolutely.
I would never poo-poo if somebody showed me, they're like, oh, I want to show you the song.
Right.
And there are people out there that be like, oh, that sucks. I would never do that to somebody. Because if you see somebody's excited about something, and even if it ain't your thing, I ain't saying lie to them, give them your honest opinion, but man, why would you crush somebody like that?
Yeah.
I bring stuff to my wife all the time, and she's like, I don't know how you listen to that stuff.
and I'm like,
I understand it, but she also gets my excitement for it, so she listens. You know?
Trust me. Yeah,
and as far as this podcast goes, I think it's great. I go to a lot of shows, even when I'm not playing. I just go see people play,
right? And
because
I've seen
I love
you there.
music.
Yep, absolutely.
But you don't get to often talk to the folks, and this is a good way to like introduce some people to the folks out there who maybe they went and seen them a couple times. They're like, man, you don't want to bug somebody when they're coming off stage trying to get a drink, trying to go to the bathroom, whatever. But this is a way to get to know folks, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on. So.
Oh, absolutely, Nick. And I've had a good time talking to you. Like I said, I just don't know where we go from this. I mean, maybe I'll come up with more things, and we'll definitely have to do a part 2 down the road. But as for now, we're about to just shut it down. But there it is, Public Enemy, shut them down. But I want to thank you, Nick, for coming out, man, and just everybody out there listening to this podcast. Hey, we'll see you next time. My man Nick Wheeler in the house. My man Brian B. Schutz in the house. This has been the B's Side, and you guys take care. Till we see you next time. Peace.